Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to week 7 of the Radical Racing Challenge and the Friday night Strength of Field race. Tonight, our host is from Down Under. It is the Phillip Island circuit in Australia. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me is Johan Cairns, and John Robertson is operating the cameras and bringing you this stream on Apex Racing TV. Johan, this is one of the most fun circuits I think in all of iRacing, honestly. It's lots of high speed corners, decent amount of camber as well at a few of these corners, a lot of elevation as well. It should be a proper driver circuit and it should be a very heavy slipstream circuit as well.
Yeah, I've really been looking forward to this circuit, Sam, and yeah, since we've gone down under to the southern hemisphere, we're also now racing anti-clockwise. It's a bit of a different feature of the circuit. Doesn't really affect your racing, but it's always a fun thing to see when you do visit a circuit like this. But yeah, I absolutely love the circuit. I mean, you've got the sea right next to you. It's we've got the sun out. I'm really excited to see the racing. It's a lot less claustrophobic than Summit Point. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And as you said, there's going to be a lot of drafting down the Garner Straight. Some sharp corners. I think Honda Corner might result in some interesting situations, looking at how tight the corner is itself. And we do have a few familiar names. I saw you recognize a few, Sam. Any particular drivers we should be looking out for?
Yeah, it's quite nice when you do like hundreds of broadcasts like myself. That's, you know, you have a few drivers who are from completely different leagues who occasionally just pop in to these Strength of Field official series races. Jean-Philippe Gendron, I cannot remember where JP is from, but I think it was the Apex Racing League GT Team Championship, if I recall correctly. I'm not 100% sure about that one, but the Canadian is the seed number 1 for tonight. But yeah, they've also got Dean Powell around and Danny Lee as well. So great to see those drivers, taking part tonight. and we'll see how they can do. We have seen, to be fair, Danny in a few of these races in the past, but he's not usually a particularly big regular. As you can see, the sector times coming up on the screen at the moment, and Gendron looking very good so far. Many of our regulars not around tonight. Only 23 drivers signed up for this strength of field event, and so there'll be quite a lot of spread out in the field, I imagine. And yeah, so watch those qualifying times come up. I think Arnoldus, that does not count for him. I think that was him coming out of the pit lane, and so that is not a legitimate time. He's still got 2 more laps to go. But the first times are about to be delivered as the drivers cross the line, and for now, it is Berchtold on pole position, but that very quickly gets beat by Gendron. Angvik very close. Danny Lee pops himself up into P3, and we're going to see about 10 more drivers cross the line in just a few moments.
I think we might have seen quite a fair bit of Berchtold in the end of 2021, I think. Yeah, we are in 2022. But yeah, Berchtold, a very, very capable driver in the old Radical. Not sure how he's going to fare with the new car, but definitely looking forward to seeing him in the race. Urata also looks like a familiar name, so looking forward to what he's going to be doing. And I think some of the drivers just getting acquainted to the track conditions, getting the tyres nice and warm, lining up for that second lap to get going.
Yeah, that second lap you can really push it a fair bit more once you've got the banker in to start the session. So yeah, expect to see a few improvements as Angvik bringing in a purple sector 2. It's not a particularly long lap, this Phillip Island circuit, and so very quickly they are heading back round, and we're going to see Angvik and Gendron deliver their times almost identical. You can see the timer is absolutely simultaneous up there at the moment. We'll see if anyone else can get up there as well. Lee won't be too far behind them. Angvik crosses line. Is it good enough for pole? It is for now, and Gendron improves, but it is a while off. Lee improves as well. He moves up into second position. Great effort from the British driver there. His teammate Powell momentarily moves up to sixth, but Amont now beats him. Bermejo also just crossing the line. A few others as well. And that is most of the times delivered. Murata also just moving up to P7. The only drivers who I'm seeing who have still got to put in a lap time are Pinkston and Muller. Muller is the seed number 4, the 4th highest I-rated driver. So you'd expect him to get up on the front few rows of the grid. Where is he able to get to? It's the second row of the grid. 4th position for Muller. Excellent effort from the European.
Yeah, I was just looking at that lap of Muller as he was ending his qualifying. Very, very solid lap for him. J-Jock also jumping into 11th position, so securing himself a nice little grid position and exceeding the expectations of his number 14 seed. So he's going to be happy with that. But Angvik looking very good there at the front of the grid. So it's going to be a fun start. Gendron might even find a bit of an opportunity if either Angvik or Lee slips up. Unfortunately, Pinkston here on our screen, little bit of oversteer out of the corner, and I think that might have cost him a bit of time. He is on his second lap, so this is going to be Pinkston's only chance. Powell jumps into 6th position with a 1:23.063, so he can be very happy with that, going up from a number 12 seed all the way to 6th position on the grid. And Pinkston is going to be coming across the line for 1:22.519. Unfortunately, no, I made a mistake there. Apologies. A 1:31.468 for Pinkston. So unfortunately, going to be 18th on the grid.
Ooh, as Muller goes to P2. Excellent lap there from Julius Muller. I got a little bit confused about whether everyone's completed their lap times or not, because I think you start behind the start line, and so it registers that you've done one more lap than you actually have done. So that's why we're seeing the improvements still, despite yeah, many of the drivers on our screen at least already providing those 2 laps. I don't think anyone else has got anything left. We've seen Lee at least cross the line twice already in this session. So got a minute left to go. So someone hasn't set a lap time, but we have got a few drivers who have gone back to the pits. Diego Stolder, Ortlovs, Hugeland, and Talarico as well. Ginter just getting a little bit more practice in. Again, I don't think this is going to be legitimate time. No, he's just putting in some times right now. I think it's just Masters Putnieks, which is maybe the last driver he will set an eligible lap time. But you know, only got 30 more seconds to go. How possible do you think we're going to see overtaking around this circuit, Johan? I mean, do you think you know, that's a big hit for Angvik to get pole position like he's done?
It's definitely going to help. But you spoke about the track being a driver's circuit, and the one thing that we've learned with these cars is if it's a driver's circuit, there are going to be unforced errors, and we are going to have overtakes based on mistakes. So that might happen, but I do think it might also be a case of some of the drivers making their own opportunities. Maybe not in all of the corners, but they'll at least with a draft into turn 1, they might be able to do something.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout on that one, as Angvik takes pole position then. Once into the second clear of Muller, then it's Lee, Gendron, Thordsson, Powell, Berchtold, Amont, Murata, Horg, Jajok, Torres in 12th position. Then it's Bombara, Siminski, Bermeje, Pinkston, Arnoldus, Salvador Jr., I believe, Ortlovs, Merrick's Ortlovs, Marcis Putnieks, Martin Talarico, Diego Stalder, and Dave Hoogerland rounding out the field. Like I said earlier, large field spread. I think there's, you know, you saw that about 7 seconds between the fastest drivers and the slowest drivers. And that's just because we've got a huge range in iRacings out here tonight. And so we could even see some lapping, honestly, around this circuit by the end of the 25 minutes. We will wait and see. It's just Brian Siminski who is yet to get onto the grid, which frankly I wouldn't mind if Brian didn't take part tonight, because it would reduce the opportunities for me to butcher his name. So he is the car number 20, but still yet to pull up on the grid, as we've got 30 more seconds of griding to go, Johan.
I just had a beautiful shot there of the rear of Muller's car, but cold tires for the first few laps. I think we might have some fireworks.
Yeah, that's yeah, can be really tricky in this car throughout. We've seen how the drivers have struggled so far this season, and you're right, on the cold tires it can be even more problematic. Bad news, Putnieks has also quit from the grid, so he's going to be starting from the pits as well. So we've got a couple of holes on the grid, but the flagman is ready, and he is about to wave the green flag to get this Radical Racing Challenge event underway, and away we launch at Phillip Island. It's a strong start, it seems, for Angvik straight away. He's trying to stay ahead of Muller and Lee and Gendron and Co. Seems like Gendron's already managed to get past Lee, albeit they're side by side through turn 1 at the moment, and Lee is able to hold on. Good start for Powell. He's been able to get past the Rodson straight away off the line as they make their way through the southern loop for the first time in this race. Super easy to get onto the grass, and we have got a driver on the grass, and that is Angvik from the race lead. He pushed it too hard on the exit there. He got onto the grass, and he's down into 10th position, and probably his chances of winning this race completely over already. Still, we got Lee now under pressure from his own teammate Dean Powell. They're fighting along, and Torres, unfortunately, is a long way off the circuit. He's gone way deep at the Honda hairpin.
Yeah, and as I said, that's the danger of cold tires on the first lap, especially on those high-speed corners. You're not going to have the grip that you're used to, and especially if you're fighting other drivers, you're bound to make a mistake. And unfortunately, that was what happened for Angvik. Muller doing very well to capitalize on that move. I also think I saw a very, very tasty move up the inside for Powell on that second turn on the southern loop. But so far, the first four runners keeping nice and close together. 2 positions gained for Gendron, and 2 positions gained for Powell, so he is moving up the field. Danny Lee looking very strong in 3rd position, managing to hold onto his position, and our first lap is done with Muller out in the lead. Arnoldus unfortunately dropping down to 10th position. Actually, a few positions that he dropped there. So it's going very slowly at the moment. We'll see what that is about in a few moments. Gendron under pressure from Lee at the moment, and he's doing everything in his power to really keep ahead. Unfortunately, the pressure is going to be there. Berchtold looking for an opportunity around the outside. Is he going to be able to stay alongside to keep on the inside? Does go for the dive, heavy on the brakes, locks up, unfortunately doesn't get anything
Oh no,
done
Powell's
there.
gone off. In the background there was Dean Powell, and he's struggling to get back in a straight direction as well. But that's a huge shame for Dean Powell. He was racing with Rodson, and I wonder if they've made some contacts heading into the Honda corner. So many incidents. I think whenever you get like a single-seater crash compilation, guaranteed you're going to have one incident from the Honda hairpin where someone decides to play bowling balls, and well, we might figure out what happened. Well, this is what happened to Angvik actually off the start. So actually at this point he's absolutely fine, and then he's just got greedy on those cold tyres, washes out. And yeah, I thought he lost it earlier on in that, but no, it's just applying too much throttle, getting on the power too early, and that is why he understeered off the circuit, and that is why the pole sitter is down in, well, 7th position. He has made up a fair few places since that initial off.
Yeah, he's definitely not a big fan of these high-speed corners up on the inside, and Amund is going to stay behind him. Amund trying to go the long way around on the outside. He's now on the inside. Is he going to have the speed? Unfortunately not. And Amund might have Hay for a bit of company behind him. Meanwhile, Anvik managing to keep in 6th position. Managing to create a bit of space for himself, so hopefully this gives him a bit of room to really concentrate on the high-speed driving until his tyres start to come to, and he might be able to move up a few positions in the pack. Arnoldo's back into 9th position. Whatever was wrong with that car, I think he got it sorted, or maybe a bit of equipment trouble, so that's being sorted. But a lot of the drivers moving up quite a few places. Arnoldo's actually up 8 positions. That's fairly impressive for so early in the race. And looking a bit further down the field, Ortlov's 7 positions gained, and Stalder also 8 positions as well. So lots of movement all around the field. I think it might have been a few drivers making mistakes causing that. Muller still out in front with a 5/10 gap. It's not enough to really stay comfortable, and you can see they again run almost 7/10 faster on the previous lap. So definitely making a bit of headway into that lead of Muller. Muller is going to have to focus on keeping it consistent and keeping those tires alive. I don't think we'll see too much degradation of the tires over the course of the race, but he's still going to have to watch out for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's I had a word with, or we got a message from one of the series organisers for this championship, and I made a mistake last week, so apologies when I said that the wear was the problem for these tyres. It's actually the temperatures. So you overheat the tyres, and it's very tricky to cool them back down, and tends to be quite a big drop off in pace about the halfway point of these official series races, or maybe 2/3 the way into these official series races. I imagine it's going to be the case around here. Lots of long radius corners, and so the tyres are going to be very stressed, as we've got a big move there. Big move from Angvik, still trying to make his way back through the order, and that was aggressive, but Berchtold saw it coming and knew the Norwegian was likely to pass eventually. And so Angvik goes up into 5th position, and he's keeping pace with the race leaders right now. Fastest lap of the race that last time round. Could we see Angvik making an absolutely epic comeback tonight, Johan?
Well, you just spoke about the tyre overheating actually being a problem. Also, apologies from my side for always talking about degradation. It's just in my personal testing, I also tended to feel the tyres fall off at a certain point, and I don't think I can drive fast enough to really overheat the tyres as much. But with the and very, very nice little move there for Powell, moving up on the inside. Is he going to be able to complete the move? Yes, he hangs it there, but Murata still hanging behind him. Unfortunately, not able to stay on the inside. Doesn't want to sacrifice the exit speed, and that is going to be Powell moving up. Stalder also looking at an opportunity. Is he going to go up in the inside? Unfortunately not, and he is going to compromise his exit. So Bombara, possible opportunity for him down the back of the circuit. But yeah, Sam, as we spoke, the tires overheating. I mean, there's a lot of high-speed corners here, or feels high-speed to me, and that could cause some of the drivers out in front to either not push as hard, or maybe just try and save the tires a bit from overheating, and that could cause them to drop back a bit. So Anvik looking good to make a bit of progress. Matthijsen, Anvik, that double surname, going up the inside of the corner. Is he going to be able to make the overtake? Yes, he does. And that is going to be the move complete on Thorudsen.
Yeah, he's now just 3.4 seconds behind. Seems inevitable. He's going to catch by the end of the race. I mean, he can see them only just ahead. I think the trouble is going to be to make the moves on these 3 drivers ahead. But honestly, he might well be the favourite for this event right now, because you can see how Angbek has been taking chunks out of Danny Lee over the last few laps, despite the fact that Lee has been in, well, sort of being towed along by the top 2, whilst Angbek has been having to fight his way up through the order. It's close, of course, for Thorudsen, and Birchtold just behind, also close behind Amont. He's 0.2 of a second ahead of Henning Horg as it stands. That's the closest battle out on circuit. I'm not sure if Horg is going to be able to make this move over Lukey Heights. There you go. And heading into the turn 10 hairpin. Going to be super slow as the car number 13 here, but all about just getting that nice line opening up turn 11. And then you're pretty much flat out all the way down to turn 1.
Yeah, and this is kind of what makes the circuit very fun in these cars. You can just absolutely slam down the throttle, keep the pace going. The aero does help you a fair bit. Massive overspeed here from Horg as he chases down the moon. Is he going to be able to move up the inside? Thinks better of it, backs out of the corner, but he's now sitting right there on the rear and looking for opportunity, going down the inside, looking for a possible wide exit from a Munt. Doesn't get the mistake, so still stays in position, now moving towards the outside, looks for an opportunity, not able to pull alongside, and that is going to be a Munt closing the door yet again. But a very, very tasty battle developing here. A little bit of a lockup. You can see the smoke on the tires there. And Org just giving it his absolute all. He does have Arnoldus for company behind him. We've seen Arnoldus move up quite a few positions during the race. So this is going to be the 3-way battle to check out in the next few laps.
I've got this, I'm trying out this new software that's, well, it's not new software, it's just software that I haven't used, and it's, honestly, there's so much information on each of these drivers that I'm struggling to decide which one I'm going to say out. But apparently, Hawk's or nickname is Zindan. I'm not sure why, but Zindan is getting very close right now, coming out the final corner. And onto the front straight they go once again. The outside line isn't necessarily the worst line here, because the outside turns into the inside. You can carry immense speed. Out wide, there's a little bit of contact between the two, and somehow Horg manages to keep it in a straight line. That was a little bit of a miracle right now. And I must say, I think that was Amont pushing it a little bit too far. Not sure if that was a mistake from Amont himself, but he went well over a car's width wide right there, Johan.
Yeah, very, very heated battle. And Arnoldo's up on the inside. Is he going to get the overtake done? Yes, he's moving ahead, or barely ahead of Horg. Unfortunately, Horg gets back to him, and they are still alongside as they go down the back of the circuit. Side by side, Arnoldo's just a little bit behind. He's going to fall behind, just get a bit of a draft. You can see almost touching the rear wing there of Horg. Horg very wide, although, sorry, a very narrow entry there for Arnoldus, and you can see it costing him. So it drops back a few hundredths, and the battle's still continuing very fiercely. Now right on the rear, and as you said, those last few corners, there's turn number 12 as they go onto the main straight. Now, there is going to be a draft available for Arnoldus. He's very, very close there to Horg. Someone that's also catching a draft, Birchtold, right behind Thorudsen as their battle continues.
Birchtold with one of the best profile pictures in all of Apex Racing League. That one's been around for a little while, but absolutely brilliant stuff there from Fabio. Fabio's nickname, James Clonk, is what he's put in. James Clonk is his nickname, and his favourite movies. Oh, he's a tennis fan as well, so this guy, I imagine Roger Federer fan. You have to imagine for Berchtold, and maybe Star Wars, the original trilogy for Fabio Berchtold. So there you go. That was what his bio says. The TNT racing driver though is absolutely desperate to get past it. Now he's been waiting behind for a while, and that seems to be the closest as he got, as you can see the lockup in the background there, and this has really put Amont offline. And look at the speed around the outside. I think Amont was trying to just slow it up on the apex, but Hawk was having absolutely none of it. He just sped around the outside, got an excellent exit from that corner. I managed to move ahead as we got Lee going for the move on Gendron. That's a big move right there for Danny Lee, and he's up into second position, and he's in line now to attack Julius Muller out in the lead.
I think someone that's going to be rubbing his hands looking at this three-way battle for the lead is going to be Anvik. He's brought the gap down to 1.5 seconds between himself and Gendron. If these drivers start battling and losing time, he's going to be right on the rear and there to pick up the pieces. So looking very good for him. And also just quickly updates on Arnoldus as he moves ahead of Amund in their little battle that they've had. Although, sorry, just the camera is looking a bit odd for me. But yeah, Arnoldus getting ahead of Amund, and Amund yet again with
I think he had a spin.
overtake.
Yeah, I think he had a spin at the Honda hairpin. Not sure if it was due to contact, and now has overheated those tyres and really struggling to deal with Siberia corner. Here it was. So yeah, this was Arnoldus behind. Oh, yeah, Arnoldus wasn't making that, and well, maybe he was going to stay on the circuit, but barely. As it's a change for the lead. Lee on the outside of Muller. He's through, waiting behind in third position for 9 laps of this race, but he's all of a sudden thought that this is when he wants to pounce. And Danny Lee, the British driver, is leading here at Phillip Island. We wait to see if he's got the pace to stay ahead, or if it's just been the slipstream which has been flattering so far. As look at Muller, he's immediately trying to come back. He's pushed Lee offline, and you pointed out earlier on, Angvik is going to be absolutely loving this. You did make a mistake on that last lap, I think, Angvik, or a couple of laps ago. No, on this lap, apologies, Angvik lost 1.3 seconds on this lap, and that is why he's now 2.7 seconds off the lead. But this battling is going to give him an opportunity to come back into the fray.
And at the start of the race, you spoke about the draft being very strong. You can see Muller kind of making up a bit of time on Lee. I think a portion of that might be the draft, a portion of that good exit speed. But what I'm wondering, I've got a bit of a theory as to why Lee was sitting behind Muller for such a long time. It could be they was just trying to get drawn along by Muller, have Muller face the worst of the wind, kind of just tucking behind him, use the draft, keep up with him, and save his tires a little bit. Now that that three-way fight broke out, he decided, okay, this is maybe a better time to get out. Muller making use of the entire circuit there, maybe compromising his turn through the southern loop a little bit, but keeping a constant gap between himself and Lee. Gendron, 4/10 between himself and Muller. And Anvik, as you said, made a mistake and unfortunately dropped a bit behind. So I think his consistency has really hurt him in this race. But yeah, can't be the easiest circuit looking at some of the mistakes that these drivers are making.
Julius Muller's favourite hobbies: feeding crows peanuts.
What?
I'm not sure what that one's about. I didn't know that crows ate peanuts. I thought they ate like bread. That's the standard thing you give to crows. Stalder, by the way, has just got past Bombara. But yeah, feeding crows peanuts. I don't know, maybe there's something lost in translation there. But that's what it says.
I absolutely love that though.
He's flying along at the moment though. There you go.
Mistake from Torrenson.
And he's dropped behind Horg in all that. And he was ahead of Berchtold, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was far ahead.
So he's lost a lot of time. Wow. over Lukey Heights, and then he's heated up the tyres, and he can't get stopped for the next corner.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. You can't get going when your tyres are cooked like
Oh
that.
no, there's been an incident for the lead. Genjon and Lee have collided at the southern loop, and it means that Julius Muller leads this race right now. And wow, this is a sudden change in the race. We'll get a replay of it, I'm sure. But Danny Lee down into 8th position. It means that Angvik is up into 2nd position. Genjon is still in 3rd, but this is how it happened. They were super close with the 3 of them across the line. And Lee, I think they've gone off just out of sympathy. Lee loses it very early on, and then Genjon loses it not too far behind, just being distracted by Danny Lee's mistake. Oh, Danny will be absolutely furious with that one. I think he made a mistake on this circuit back in Aero GT about 2.5 years ago or something. And that's another mistake to add to the collection, and it has ruled him out of a chance of a podium.
I think what might have happened there, they do teach you this in like normal driving school, is if you look at a certain area, you tend to drive to that. So I think his focus might have shifted to the car going off the track and just kind of followed a bit. It's the same as driving through a small gap. If you look at the edges of the gap, you're going to hit it. But Lee is already trying to make amends. He's trying to make the pass on Ronaldo's. Ronaldo's making the pass on Torreson. Are we going to see a 3-1 situation? And Lee bails out completely. Yeesh, you've got a feel for the guy. That was a difficult situation to be in.
Yeah, he locked up the brake, and then just felt like going straight on. And that's a good rejoin there from Danny to avoid any issues. Man, when it rains, it pours. Huge shame for him, as Muller quite alone out in the lead. Angvik's pace hasn't been as strong as I thought it would be. He looks so quick in the early stages, so good in qualifying as well. I don't know if it's just mistakes occasion which is kind of holding him back, but that gap really hasn't changed over the last maybe 10 laps or so. And Muller is coasting to victory right now.
Yeah, he just needs to keep his consistency at the same level that it's been for the entirety of the race. We are at lap 14, so I would assume that at some point these tires are going to start overheating if they have not been doing so already. Berchtold running down Gendron, see if he's able to close that gap down a bit. It might even be that Gendron might have a bit of damage from going off the track, although I don't think these cars are that sensitive. Berchtold making good use there of the draft, sticking right behind. Unfortunately not able to follow as closely through the high-speed corners as they go through the southern loop, and he's just trying to stay with him. But yeah, I definitely know Berchtold is very happy on the circuit. I also almost wanted to ask you whether Birch told you that this is his favorite circuit.
His favourite
yeah,
circuits. Oh no, Otlos has had an issue, and Amunts as well. No, I think Amunts just getting past, overtaken by Lee, so I think Amunts is okay, but Otlos did definitely have an issue. His favourite circuits, actually, for Berchtold are Nordschleife and Spa.
Sorry, yeah, I was just looking at the iRacing tracks, not... Yeah. Oh, we've got another driver going off. Oh, sorry, that's the replay of Ortlovs. Avoiding...
Oh, so there was a mistake. So, apologies, so it was Amunts who spun. I thought Amunts just got overtaken by Lee fair and square, but no, Amunts spun, and that caused Ortlovs to have to take evasive action, and Lee was able to get past the pair of them. So, yeah, that was bad news there for those two drivers. 23 seconds off the lead, but yeah, lots of field spread, like I was saying earlier on. Junior is a lap down, in 18th position. Salvatore Lanzalozza, apologies, Junior. But Salvatore in 18th position right now. But there is Hawk running very wide through the southern loop. He seems to be struggling as this race goes on, and Arnoldus is catching back up after his mistake earlier on in the race.
Yeah, and we've seen quite a few drivers go off, but I definitely think there's no opportunity for them to cool the tires on the grass. A little quirk of the physics engine, which you're actually not allowed to use, but we saw a few instances of that. this car definitely not allowing that. But yeah, Arnold is absolutely charging down Hall, down the back of the circuit. He's desperately looking for an opportunity down the main straight. He wants to get close enough to get that draft going. Very difficult through the last few corners as you've got that dirty air really affecting you. You can see him dropping back a little bit through some of the twisty bits. Now about, I'd say, 5/10 between the two of them. The gap is starting to come down a little bit. I was a little bit confused by Ronaldo's photograph. I just saw Max. I'm like, surely not.
Oh yeah, maybe this is his Smurf account or something. Yeah, but he's Dutch, so I mean, could be the case. Favorite circuit, by the way, is Red Bull Ring for Martin. He absolutely loves Red Bull Ring, so definitely a Max supporter. Also, his favorite quotation is "What's happening?" And apparently, a mechanic said that after Verstappen won a race one time. So there you go. Definitely a Verstappen fan is Arnoldus, and he is moving his way past. But I think Hulk's going to fight this one out because he's got the better line into the Honda hairpin, and well, who's going to get the better exit? Who's able to get on the thoughts earlier? They both leave each other plenty of room. Good, respectable driving to head into Siberia, and Arnoldus is up to 5th position. Had to work hard, but he's a good pace throughout this race. Remember, he started down in 17th position, did Arnoldus. I don't think he got a qualifying lap in, as he's now going to have to go mega defensive over Lukey Heights. But I think that was maybe the one chance. I think the hairpin is probably the only response that that Hawk is going to have available. He wasn't able to take it, and with just over a lap to go for these drivers, I think these positions are looking fairly secure. Not too many overtakes happening out on circuit either right now.
Yeah, so Muller taking the white flag out in front, Anvik right on his heels, but 1.7 seconds. So as you said, the gap is going to stay open for the rest of the race, most probably. Arnoldus, the one driver that is definitely at risk here from Hawk. Hawk chasing him down. He does want that position back, and if Arnoldus can keep a clean lap going, he is going to be able to hold on to that position. He doesn't have to go through too much too many overtaking zones for the rest of the lap, but that does not mean he's totally absolved, as he does need to keep everything consistent. A bit deeper on the inside, compromises his line a bit, and ooh, that is a Munt off the track again, unfortunately.
He just had a very poor lap as well, didn't Munt? He was coming under pressure from Murata and may have been caught by the end of the race anyway, because I think his tyres had just gone off a cliff. He also has had another issue, because he's lost another 12 seconds as Danley on that last lap. Not sure what happened there. But in the lead, the gap's come down, but it's not going to be enough. Julius Muller is approaching the line. This is going to be a very satisfying win for him. He started on the front row, and whilst other drivers were making mistakes throughout, all those rivals went off at the southern loop. He did not. He's had great pace, and he takes the win at Phillip Island. Epic drive from the car number 4. Angvik finishes in 2nd place, which is remarkable considering he was outside the top 10 in the early stages. Gendron finishes in 3rd place, and as Berchtold, Arnoldus does beat Horg. And we wait to see if there's going to be any close finishes. Murata fairly close to Talaricho, but I think he's going to have that one safe. Probably Bombara and Stalder. The only tight one going on at the moment, about half a second between those two drivers. And, well, could we see a run to the line, or does he have to get it done at the hairpin here? He is going to look to the inside. They're both a little bit cautious, and Stalder's going to need to have an excellent exit here if he's going to pass. But I don't think there's going to quite be the tarmac available for him to do it.
So right there on the rear, Bobara defending heavily, and down the main straight they go. I do not think there's going to be an opportunity here. Very, very close together. That is going to be Bobara in 15th, Stalder in 16th. So I'm thinking of people of my own town. And then Siminski will be rounding out the field in 17th. Just a quick shout out. I do see that Lily Muller also just saying hello and actually confirming that her brother does actually carry around peanuts to feed the crows.
Amazing stuff. Sorry, I haven't had the YouTube chat open this entire race. My bad on that one. But what? Lily, please, you got to explain this a bit more. You can't just drop in the original comment and then just say, "Oh yeah, obviously he carries around peanuts," as you do. Is this a thing just in your nation? Because I'm not familiar with this whatsoever. But there was Danny Lee. He had 2 offs in the final 2 laps. He was leading the like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Awful race for him in the second half.
that's always my fear with these cars. It's so easy to make a mistake in the second half of the race. Um, so we had Bedard in the chat just confirming for us that it's the right rear that gets up to about 145 degrees Celsius. So that's why we saw so many drivers actually going off there on the second turn, as the rear of the car just kind of gives up grip and starts overtaking the front of the car. But Sam, we've got our classified race results. Why don't you run us through them?
Yes, Julius Muller winning out tonight ahead of Angvik. Again, John was 4.4 seconds off the lead, which, considering that he went off the circuit, was not bad. But Stoll with a strong performance up there in fourth. There's Arnoldus, Hogg, and Thorodson. He kind of fell away a little bit as that race went on. Thorodson, very strong in qualifying, but yeah, wasn't quite able to keep up the pace towards the end of the race. Maybe struggling with tyres. Dean Powell as well. I think probably similar story for Powell, but he also had that off at Honda hairpin on like lap 2 or 3, I believe. There's Murata, Talaricho, Emir Amont, Ortlovs, Lee, who's now racing for Frontline Coffee. There was a bit of a bio about that. I might read that out in a little bit. But yeah, it was in 13th position. Then it was Christian Beramajo, Marco Bombara, Diego Stalder, Brian Seminski. He didn't take the start. I didn't think he actually started from the pits, actually, did Brian. Salvatore Lanziotta Jr. There's Vitor Torres, Dave Hoogeland, Daniel Pinkston, Marchis Putnieks, and Eric J-Joy, rounding out the 23 cars. A quick shout out to SDK Gaming. They are the ones who provide our brilliant overlay up on screen, and that is just the tip of the iceberg, because SDK Gaming also provides our live timing. They also provide a brilliant heads-up display for whilst you're racing, so you can calculate your fuel whilst you're racing on the go. And these fairly irrelevant and probably quite annoying by the end of the broadcast kind of notes that I have, also available via SDK Gaming. And in fact, you can upload your own details, so I can read them out in the future on broadcasts by going to sdk-game.co.uk. You can download the free driver information app, input your information into there, and then that becomes available for us commentators to read through. And of course, that is also where you can get yourself a subscription, a 14-day free subscription actually, so you can give SDK a go and see if it is for you. As I think, do we have any interviews available? We do not. Almost certainly Danny Lee would have been up for an interview, Johan. However, I think he's probably in a little bit of a grump right now after the end of that race. So yeah, once again, we're a little bit by ourselves in the commentary box.
Yeah, these radical drivers are very, very shy, which is a bit odd since they're sitting in an open cockpit. I'm just looking at the schedule at what's coming up next, and I am absolutely giddy looking at that Suzuka circuit sitting at week number 8 for the starting the 2nd of August. I'm very, very excited about this. I'm not a fan of driving Suzuka. I'm a fan of actually watching other people drive there. So it's going to be very exciting for me. Suzuka lends itself very well to these prototype cars. I think anything with the wing can really enjoy that circuit a fair bit. What do you think, Sam? What are you expecting for next week?
Well, it is famously the best circuit in the world, unequivocally. I always say that. So Yeah, just anything around Suzuka is going to be good. Apparently, these cars are a little bit faster than the SR8 round Suzuka, which is really weird to me. Because I think I've driven this car around Suzuka, and it feels so much slower because all the long radius corners. It's just not as sort of light, round the bends as the old SR8, but no, it should still be rapid. Of course, you got the long straights, and yeah, overtaking should be possible, but it does get quite narrow down into the Casio triangle, which is often where you see overtakes. By the way, Lily Muller has replied once again, and thanks, Lily, for providing this information. But the reason why our race winner tonight feeds peanuts to crows is because it's his favorite animal. So at some point he started feeding peanuts to two particular crows, Boris and another another crow who unfortunately we cannot remember the name of. But yeah, it's very nice actually, and I mean I'll remember that one for next time. Next time that Julius is in a race, we will remember that he is feeds crows. Hopefully, we can have an interview with him one day, and we can go into it with some more detail. I'm sure that's what the viewers absolutely want to see. Johan, just a final words on this race. Then, just once again, this SR10, still the drivers haven't got it figured out because we saw probably as many solo mistakes tonight as we've seen at any round this season.
Yeah, it's a difficult circuit with the high speed corners or the medium to high speed corners. I think there's no real kind of long stretch of circuit that the drivers have enough respite from the corners. I mean, here at Phillip's Island, you've got that long main straight, but the rest of it is fairly twisty over the full length of the track. So yeah, the tires definitely not getting a break. Some larger circuits. I'm thinking a bit about Suzuka. It does have a few more gaps. I mean, it still has very quick corners. I mean, the very, very famous 130R. And it's going to be a bit of a mix. Unfortunately, I do think the drivers still haven't really figured out what this car needs in the latter half of the race. We have seen some cases of drivers actually absolutely smashing it in the previous races, but they weren't here at the moment. Oh, sorry, they weren't here tonight. But for the majority of the field, it's being a bit difficult. I do think this is going to be different for next season. iRacing will definitely figure out the car a bit more. Normally, your first setup, your first setup is not going to be the best one for the car, and if they were to make the series open setup, that could also be very interesting. But I like the fixed setups. It does challenge the drivers a fair bit, and you can really see which drivers are either suited to the car's setup or adapt very well. And to me, that's always interesting to see when a driver actually is. This is going to sound like an insult, but is intelligent enough to actually figure out what's going on with the car on the fly and how to adapt for it. I mean, for your hobbyist weekend warriors like myself, I can't do that. The only way that I know how to compensate for that is going slower. But some of these drivers do know exactly how they need to treat the corners to get the most out of those tires, know where their weakness is, know where to compensate for it. And I'm definitely looking forward to the second season where they're able to do it. I mean, we still have a lot of racing to happen for this season, and I do think we might see a bit of a different effect when we go to Imola. I think Imola treats the car a bit better. There's a lot of kind of stop-start corners. The chicanes are fairly heavy on the brakes, but you don't have as many corners where you're just absolutely clinging on for grip. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I do think we'll see. We'll look back on the season and either think fondly of it, or it will be one of those infamous seasons in the history of the car.
it's a good point, that last point where yeah, this might look like a very odd season in a couple of years' time. Remember when the tires were like this? But yeah, I imagine that iRacing will hopefully make a little bit of a change. I mean, we don't want it to be completely dialed up because, as far as I'm aware, this car is fairly realistic and probably more realistic than the SR8 ever was. But yeah, it is quite a challenge with the cars, and yeah, just a few tweaks with the setup really would make this car maybe a bit more accessible to new drivers. So yeah, hopefully we see that, but for the time being, for the rest of the season, we're still going to have much more excellent action coming up. I've already given a shout out to SDK Gaming. I'll also give a shout out to both Apex Racing Academy and Virtual Racing School, who you can sign up to both and get pretty much all your setups for so many different cars covered, because Virtual Racing School improves your on-track performance with 50 plus data packs for road and oval racing. You've got setups, track guides, and also their data analysis software as well, which is super useful for when you are trying to identify where to gain time on some pro drivers. And you can use that Virtual Racing School subscription in your Apex Racing Academy subscription, so you get the benefits from both. And yeah, you get more setups and more coaches and all that good stuff. So yeah, thanks to both Apex Racing Academy and Virtual Racing School for sponsoring this broadcast. Of course, do check out the links in the description below to go to their websites and get yourself a subscription. Also, thanks once again to Lily Miller. The crows were named Boris and Clarissa, so excellent stuff there. More stories on the chronicles of feeding crows with peanuts next week, hopefully, when Julius returns to the championship. That is going to be pretty much all we have on Apex Racing TV tonight. Of course, if you've enjoyed this broadcast, do leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out our social media as well. Going to be lots of new content on the Apex Racing TV social media via or on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook as well. Yeah, of course, subscribe to the channel. Big thanks to our sponsors, Apex Racing TV, SDK Gaming, and Virtual Racing School. Do check out our streams as well coming up over the next few days. We've got the return of the Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 Championship tomorrow, along with also the 3.5 official series as well, fairly late. We've also got Spec Racer 4, the 9GP Fun on Sunday. On Monday, I think we've got Vic Mode Tech. Tuesday, the ARL GT3 Trophy. So those are coming up on Apex Racing TV. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Johan Karanas, and from John Robertson, we are going to say goodbye, and we'll see you back next time at Suzuka. See you then.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.